So, thanks for the opportunity to speak today. I'm an analytics partner with Tesella, and I'll explain what that means in a second. The main thing I want to do today is to just share some experiences that my company have had in recent years in working across domains, deploying analytics into R&D. The volumes of data that we're all dealing with nowadays are unprecedented, and actually sometimes that means that the data itself isn't used very much, or at least not all of it. The distribution of that data through organizations can also be quite significant. It can cross geographies, be in silos in certain departments, in databases. It's hard to know exactly what you've got. And the number of tools and techniques and technologies you can use to actually do something with that data are unbelievable in number, and I'm sure some of you, like me, are learning about new ones today. So there's a lot of challenges out there, and we as a company work across a wide range of industries, doing all kinds of analytics, data science, consulting work. And really interesting thing about working across all these industries is that we see effectively the same problems across all of them when it comes to data. Of course, the business problems are different. Of course, the domain questions are different. But around data, it's the same kind of challenges. Just a bit of background. We've got 250 staff worldwide. We are now part of the Altran group. But of our 250, over 60% of our staff have PhDs in things like physics, chemistry, maths, engineering. And the key thing there is that we use that R&D background of our own to help us to understand our clients' business problems. And I'll come back to that in a bit. So in the last 5-10 years, we've seen, in talking with our clients, the same problems coming up again and again, the same kind of questions in conversation. And the thing that really does span the industries is about people. So the questions that our clients ask is things like, they say, the questions we need to answer require so many people over the year, but that's an average number. Because this is R&D, right? The questions that come up, you don't know exactly when they're going to come up. So your demand for skills, demand for people in specialist areas goes up and down. But then on top of that, what the skills you need in those people are so varied: statistics, modeling, simulation, machine learning, and so on. And it's very difficult to keep that within a single team. So this boils down to the fact that our clients are looking for fast, flexible access to a broad range of deep skills. And really, we've got three key things there. We've got speed of insight, because R&D needs speed often. Sometimes you get data off a trial, and your follow-up trial is starting within a few days. You need to be able to understand that data, process that data, and put that into the next trial. You need flexible access to be able to deal with these peaks and troughs, and you need skills to be able to deal with that wealth of technologies that are out there. So over that period of time, our way of working with our clients has evolved into more of a partnership model, and this is where my role comes in. So I'm this embedded analytics partner, so I'm working on-site in the food and drink industry with a client, where my role is to understand the business problems, try and work out how we can help this organization to answer all kinds of things around their data, their statistics, their modeling needs, their image analysis, all kinds of things like that. And I'm leading a team back in our offices, which is some roughly agreed size, but which we scale over time based on the demand that the client has. And we also change the composition of that team with bringing in skills from around our company for whatever the needs are. So it might be that somebody has an idea, maybe some machine learning would help, and we bring somebody in for a couple of hours to see if it would, and if it does, maybe they join a team for a few weeks to actually do a piece of work. So in practice, this is an example of one of the partnerships we've got over a period. The client had about 4 FTEs worth of work out of us in this period, and that was delivered by 23 different specialists. And that wasn't us chopping and changing over time. That was, as I say, bringing in the right skills at the right time to deliver what they needed. And as you can see there, the flexible access, the amount of time we're spending goes up and down over the period. So this is one way of approaching the three challenges I mentioned a minute ago. Speed, because there's an established partnership in place and they can get access to starting pieces of work quickly, but also flexible and skills. But of course, this is just one way of doing it. Those priorities, those ways of thinking are things that hopefully you could take into your own ways of working, into your departments, and think about how can you get the speed of access to things, how can you make sure that you can have the right people with the right skills working on things at the right time. So I could talk about some specific examples from within the partnerships of statistical problems that we've solved, that sort of thing. And I've got lots of examples like that. I'm happy to talk in the breaks. But what I'm going to do instead is talk about a couple of examples of other work we've done outside the partnerships, projects slightly of a different type that might be of interest to you, but which looks to address those same kinds of problems. So the first one is the Rothhampton Research Farm Platform Data Portal. So you might be familiar with Rothhampton Research. They're an academic institution in the UK interested in agricultural research. And in the southwest of England, in Devon, they have a farm where they perform all kinds of experiments looking to address the challenges facing agriculture today, things like sustainability, adapting to climate change, and so on. And one of the things that they needed to do was to make the data from this farm available publicly, because on the farm they have an enormous number of sensors capturing all kinds of things, water data, chemical compositions, soil data, air data, all that sort of thing. And down to temporal resolutions of about 15 minutes, they have an enormous amount of data. And they wanted to make that available, so they came to us and worked with us, and we built this website where you can select the area of the farm, you can select the type of information, type of data from that area that you're interested in, time periods, you can get previews of it, and you can download it. This is a public website, by the way. You can go and have a look at it yourself. So, a website, very nice, very useful. But actually, the key thing here is not so much that front bit of the website. It's the work that went on behind it. It was the work to understand the data that was available, to collate the data, to bring it together into a system, and to make it easily available. So by doing this piece of work, what they have is, yes, tick, data is available to the public, but actually, as well as that, they're now able to perform all kinds of analytics on this data to understand it. So in this way, they're addressing speed, because now they can get at their data super fast. They can just download it and get going. They can answer questions. So the speed element's addressed. And in terms of flexible access to resources and in terms of skills, now they're in a position where they can much more easily get access to their global collaborators or collaborations around the world in a more flexible way, because the data is ready to be analysed, ready to be worked on. And of course, over time, this data is only going to grow. The second example I've got is from the pharmaceutical industry. So this is a case where you have highly variable preclinical experimental data, so all types of lab outputs and analytical outputs. And in this case, the client wanted to improve their modeling. They were aware that they needed, that they thought they could save money, save time in their modeling if they had a better handle on the data, because before this piece of work, their data was, as is the case in many organizations, in an enormous number of Excel spreadsheets, all of which are in different formats, different structures, different file shares, all over the place. And so we provided business analysis and technical support to them to go from looking at establishing data contracts and data processes so that it was clear how data should be handled by all the experimental teams, through to actually delivering software systems that could support this. So, I mean, this had a big impact on them, as you can see, because their modelers were saving time because they didn't have to look for data. It was available, it was already collated, it was ready for them. They reduced their modeling outsourcing costs by 10% simply by just at a click of a button being able to export it in the right format. And they were able to make efficiency savings actually in the experimental teams because those teams knew what they needed to do with data. It was established, you use this structure of spreadsheet, use this structure of process, do this, do that. And that saved them a lot of time. So I could talk about lots more examples. There are lots more examples on our website, and there is actually a hard copy of this thing, which my colleague Keith over there has got a few copies of if anyone's interested. And if anyone would like to hear some more detailed things about statistical things we've done within the partnerships that I talked about earlier, as I say, I'm around all day today and tomorrow. So just some closing thoughts. These three key needs, I think, to succeed in data-driven R&D are the speed of insights, being able to respond to things quickly, being able to work with your data as soon as it can be available, flexible access to the right people, and actually not just people, but other resources. If you need a supercomputer to process your data, then making that available is useful. And finally, that broad range of deep skills. I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, from my side, just one question, because I'm still wondering how this kind of skills can be deployed in the company, especially because you need to know a lot of the company, of the context, of the business context, stakes, and so on. And so my question is how much time you need to really get involved as much as possible and to be really operational from a business point of view?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So the role of the analytics partner is absolutely key in trying to understand all of those issues. From the moment we go on site, we try and immerse ourselves in the business. But actually, that isn't too different to what many of our consultants do over time, moving into new industries and trying to understand things. But we don't pretend to be 30, for me personally, I don't pretend to have 30 years of experience in food and drink. My clients do, and we respect that knowledge, we use that knowledge, and what I bring, I think, to my client is being that gateway to all of the skills that we have, and I focus very much in the early weeks on understanding how the business works, understanding the needs of the business.
Okay, thank you.